turn now to what happens when the party of no becomes the party in power. Will Republicans change their tune?
It's clear that we're going to have some kind of bipartisan agreement.
Last night, the president was kind enough to call me. We discussed working together.
I think what the American people were saying yesterday is that they appreciated us saying no.
So, is that a yes? New York Congressman Anthony Weiner, one of the Democrats left standing after last night, joins us today to discuss what's next. Purely, first of all, how are you? Never mind. I won't do that.
I've been hit with so many rights, I'm begging for a left at this point.
Realistically, what can we expect in the nature of the relationship between the Congress of the United States as you see it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they proudly campaigned on being against stuff, and now it's kind of incumbent on them, now that they're governing, to say what they're for. I think that, you know, there's a lot of talk. Is there going to be compromise? Compromise with what? Like, what is exactly the ask on the other side? Look, let's remember a little bit about what this campaign was about, and it's easy to forget that, you know, we try to do things on health care, cover people with pre-existing conditions, stabilize the financial sector. People like these component parts, and the Republican Party did a brilliant job without much defense on our side, deconstructing them and making everything bad. Okay, now it's their turn. If they want to govern, that's fine. I think there are a lot of Democrats who want to help them. But if they want to just say no for another 2 years, there's not a lot of compromise to do.
I want to talk a little bit about the way things are done. And you and I spent a lot of time together over the course of the health care debate. A lot of criticism about not necessarily the outcome, let's say, although there's room for that depending on who you are, but the way that debate was conducted. Same for the financial regulation bill. Take a listen to the president today addressing the issue of process and how we make decisions, not just what decisions we make.
We were in such a hurry to get things done that we didn't change how things got done.
How important is that? And the reason what I point to is the backroom deals that were, or at least the perceived backroom deals, and as far as I can tell, they were backroom deals with the drug companies, with the hospital companies, all of the early deals that were cut before the health care debate happened, that are perceived to have crippled the ability for people like yourself and others to engage in a broader debate about employer health care, a broader debate about drug reimportation, a broader debate about breaking up the insurance monopoly that appears to have been deprived of the American political process by the process.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a process problem. That was the decision was bad, and you and I were right, and the president was wrong.
Fair enough.
Like the decision was so out in the open. We're only going to ask this much savings from pharmaceuticals. We're only going to ask this much savings from healthcare companies. It was not a process. The president compromised on things that he should have fought on. And the problem is that in all of the machinations about legislation, we lost sight of the American people, the middle class, those struggling to make it, who wanted their health care bills to go down. We lost sight of that. That wasn't a process problem. Look, if this thing was incredibly transparent, almost painfully so, 75 hours of markup, you and I on here analyzing over the thing, this kickback and that kickback was all publicly done. The problem that we have now going forward is the outcome wasn't so bad. People like the idea that we're covering a lot of people we didn't. People like the idea that we're not going to, that Medicare is going to last longer. The problem is we've done a very bad job of communicating that. Now the Republicans are in charge. I think that it's the Democrats who should say, okay, you tell us what you want to do. Because all you've said is you want to deconstruct health care, deconstruct financial regulation, privatize Social Security, and make Medicare into vouchers. So, okay, so if that's what your proposal is, some of those things we're going to absolutely not give on.
But let's go to the core issue, as I see it for this election, which is as much a referendum on the overall trust in status quo incumbent politicians, period, as it is policy differences between the Democrats and the Republicans. And we can debate how much is which, but to that point, what could be done by you, by the Republicans, or anybody else to regain some of the trust that has been lost, period?
Yeah, but, you know, I buy this. I buy the trust argument, but I'm going to tell you something. When 3/4 of the American people think their taxes went up in the last 2 years, when we know as a matter of fact that they went down.
We have a misinformation problem.
So it's not a matter, I mean, you can trust me that it's the case, but it is a fact. And the problem is a lot of those facts, which are immutable, got muted. So I don't know if they don't trust members of Congress, or they don't trust people who are giving them information, or they don't trust their lying eyes. But we do have a problem here that a lot of the absolute facts that people voted on here were wrong. And I don't know whose fault that is. A lot of the people who won races lied about stuff, right? I mean, they said your taxes have gone up when they hadn't.
Sure. At the end of the day, though, whether it's me, you, or anybody else who chooses to speak in public on a large or small platform, we can certainly agree that if we don't restore trust in the process,
true,
in the information process, in the political process, it'll become harder to solve these problems, not less so.
I think that's right, and that's why I come on shows like yours to try to cut through it and try to make the case. I think the president has to do a much better job at truth-telling. But now I got to tell you, it's flipped now. Now the Republicans who are in charge can't rely on just making stuff up all along. Now they actually have to put bills on the floor that we're going to vote on. And they've said their opening salvo is we want to give tax cuts to billionaires. Okay, that's their proposal. Here's what our proposal is, and we should move forward like that. But I don't know how you restore trust when there was so much overt misinformation as the foundation for a lot of these campaigns.
One day at a time. A pleasure.
You got it.
Nice
Thank you,
to see
buddy.
you, Congressman.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.